Good morning. Um, Monday morning. I hope everyone had a good weekend. Um, we had a quiet weekend, didn't do anything too special. Um, Cooked out. I think everybody does that maybe on Father's Day weekend. And the weather was pretty good. Not the rain I was anticipating. So, you know, that's what you get. Paying attention to the weather report. It's not always too accurate. So we can just sit and breathe for a little bit. Just taking a few moments to kind of get settled and get focused, I guess. So I like the 5 minutes before class, um, and obviously when we're doing class in a different location. Morning, Dora and Key and Sue. Um, I like it, when we're doing it in a different location because a lot of times you do get into the classroom after traveling and driving in your car and rushing and everything, and it is nice to take just a couple moments to sort of decompress. But I think even when you're doing this from home, it's important to just take a few minutes to get yourself in that kind of state of mind, right? And in some ways it's even more important because at home it's so easy to be distracted, right, by everything that's around you. When you are going to class, once you're there, there's nothing else to do there but to do your yoga. You can't sort of see something and get up and walk away. Well, I mean, you could, but you probably wouldn't do that. Although we've had people take phone calls in the middle of class. I mean, if people will do it. It definitely happens, but I think for the most part, that is one of the benefits, right, of going out to do something is um, that we aren't tempted to just, oh, let me just go do this one thing. Or so that's the challenge, right, of being at home is staying focused, staying on task, um, which I think is, a really excellent skill for all of us to work on and develop. And I think it's something, if we can pass that on to our children or grandchildren or whoever we might have that we're influencing in our life, it's great because I think as a culture and a society, we've lost that. We look elsewhere, we look outside for distraction and entertainment and um, direction, even, right? I know a lot of people who are very, and of course, I think maybe this has cured them of that, or maybe it's made it worse. I don't know. But, the idea of having their kids home was terrifying, right? They wanted their kids in school all the time. And if they had a day off or school was on a break or something, they were, what am I going to do? How am I going to entertain them? Um, and I think that's very common. We've kind of gotten into this thing where we have to have activities. We have to keep going outside of the home and have other people telling us what to do. Do this, do that. You know, um, the idea that we could just figure it out for ourselves, find things to do, make our own plans, is kind of old. I guess it's an old idea. Um, but I mean, I'm sure you guys all remember this. That I mean, my mom didn't worry about what we were doing. She was, if we were home for dinner, that was good. But, and I'm not necessarily saying that that's the best way to do it either, but there's got to be, I think there's a middle ground. And I think we sell ourselves and our kids short when we think that they can't develop that. They can't. And I think it's a skill we need to learn, right? To be self reliant and um, uh, to develop some of those interests, knowing that that's the time to do it, right? Um, my kids were all homeschooled, and they had a lot of time on their hands to develop interests, and they did, um, and they spent a lot of time on them, and that's I'd forgotten what those sort of early, like tweens and early teens, how focused and interested they can be in things, and how really that's a really great time for developing this sort of, maybe these great passions in life, these things that will stay with you to some extent your whole life. And I can remember as a child um, loving art and loving um, music and those type of things. Not so much listening to music, but playing music, and and those things have stuck with me. Reading, I love to read up all the time. Um, so in one form or another, those interests have stayed with me my whole life. Um, and I always know that they're there. So if I'm feeling bored, I could get a book. I could pick up, do some drawing, do some painting. So finding things that we can do ourselves, that we don't need to be have a teacher for, right? Knowing that we are available, all of that knowledge is available to us. This is a fantastic time to be alive. I can remember struggling with encyclopedias at my house. That was it, man. We had some encyclopedias, and we learned a lot from that. But it it, it was pretty light on. Uh, there was no you couldn't see someone doing anything. You just read about it, right? So now this, with the internet and the videos and tutorials and everything, there's really almost nothing that you can't figure out if you just keep looking. So yeah, staying home, being interested in that, um, that's great. And that's, if we can develop that, work on that, we're gonna that's gonna improve, I think, our life in general. Um, so that's a form of focus, and we were talking about focus. So dharana, right? Um, so dharana in meditation, sort of that moving from dharana to dhyana. But dharana can be built in many ways. I mean, focusing on a project or something that you are really giving all of your attention to is a form of, we've kind of moved into a form of meditation. Um, and I know you may have heard people talk about what they call the flow state. And that's when we are working on something and we are so absorbed in it that time just kind of passes. and we don't really even know it. Um, and if you've ever really been absorbed in a project or some activity that you're doing, you'll know, right? We have that common expression that, time flies when you're having fun, and that's true. But time also flies when you are deeply absorbed in what it is you are doing. Um, we won't even notice that the time has gone by. So if sitting and focusing on moving into meditation isn't really your thing, or you find that very difficult, maybe start building that ability to focus through other activities, things that you love and enjoy, that you feel sort of equally focused on. And everybody, well, I should say not everybody, most everybody has something like that, or they've experienced something like that in their life. So if you're not sure where to begin with that, and sometimes we aren't, right? I think as adults, many times we have forgotten what it was that we were interested in, or even what it is to be interested deeply in things. Um, Sometimes we've discarded all of that so much in favor of work and taking care of other people and all the other sort of grown up responsibilities. We need to look back in our past. What did we love as a child? What did we enjoy doing? If you had something that really inspired you, a lot of times we're told by family members or friends that it's a waste of time, or it's you're never going to make any money doing it, or some other comment that a lot of times kills our enthusiasm. Sometimes we're told we're not good at it, right? Maybe you love to paint, but it was terrible. Well, who cares? Do it anyway. Um, you don't have to be uh, Michelangelo to sculpt. You don't have to be a Renaissance master to paint. In the first place, they weren't like that when they started either, right? So again, we make this mistake when we compare our beginnings with other people's peak, right? It takes thousands of hours of practice. I think I read 10,000 hours of doing something to get to a point of what we may consider mastery. And that's not to say some people aren't very gifted. Some people have more gift one way or another. Um, so you may be able to jump ahead on that. Maybe you're already halfway there. I don't know. Um, but if you're not, who cares? Just do it. Um, I have paintings of my grandmother's who she just took it up when she was in her 80s. She just decided she wanted to do it. And they aren't very good, but I love them. I mean, if you looked at them in a gallery, you'd be like, oh my God, what is that? Looks like a kid did it. Well, kinda. But she was, right? She was beginning to learn how to do this, and she loved it. And I love them because, well, my grandmother did them, but because of what they represent. They're a beginning. Um, so there is a real beauty in that. Don't be afraid to get started. Um, I often think of, so the last line in um, A Christmas Carol, which is a very popular thing around our house. My husband loves it. We listen to it. We watch the movie and read it all the time. The last line is, uh, when Scrooge had his transformation, people laughed, right? People laughed to see his transformation, but Scrooge didn't care because inside his heart laughed. So what you do for yourself and to make yourself happy is all that matters. If other people can't understand it, or don't agree with it, or don't get it, well, that's their problem. And it isn't even really their problem because it's none of their business. But if they choose to make it their problem, again, it's not your problem. So find something that you maybe discarded in the past. Dust it off. See how it seems to you today. It might not be perfect for you, or maybe something else, maybe something similar. But work on that, right? Let that help you learn focus and um, patience, right? That's another thing. Focus and patience kind of go together, hand in hand. When we rush, right? When we're impatient and we rush, things don't get done. Um, we we're in a hurry, and then we're usually you know, uh, disappointed with the end result. So take your time, focus, and see what happens. Um, and if you come across something, let me know because I'm always interested to hear what people are up to. Um, One thing I was talking with my kids yesterday about was this idea that everybody has things that really light them up. Um, and we tend to think of, a lot of times in our culture, we kind of dismiss that. We call people nerds or eggheads or, something very derogatory. So for someone, when someone really learns a lot about something, really gets skilled um, and if it's not something that we as a culture sort of value, we tend to dismiss it, and we make them feel odd or unusual. But the more you get to know people, you realize that everyone has something like that. It's just something that maybe they don't talk about. Um, it's their special thing, and I love that. Like that's a thing. If when I find that out about someone, I want to know all about it. Right? Tell me about what it is that makes you happy, that lights you up. It may be something really unusual that you've never even heard of before. But when you can find that out about someone, you've really found um, something very deep and something very basic to their nature. And it tells you so much, right? Um, that is a way to connect, right? So that's another way that we all have this light inside, but it glows differently for everybody, right? Everybody expresses it in their own way. So I think that's pretty amazing. So see what does that for you, um, and and then do it. Spend some time on it, and don't feel like it's a waste because um, it's not. It never is. That's something I had to learn. I was raised in a very kind of no nonsense household. And if it wasn't going to make you money, why were you going to do it? And then I think in our culture too, that is um, a common feeling. So try to try to get past that. Um, we do need money. Everybody needs money, right? But you need other things too. You need things that, and sometimes what you do for money doesn't do it for you, right? It isn't something that um, really makes you interested. It's just something you're doing for money. And that's okay. I mean, sometimes we got to do that, but there's got to be something else too. So go back, see what it was, and see what it can be now. All right. So now some asana after um, our focus. And as you are going through um, the poses, see if you can keep that focus on um, the breath and moving through the practice, keeping that awareness here. not being distracted, right, by the things around you in your room or whatever. Keep that focus. All right. So sitting up tall, take a deep breath. And then chin down toward the chest. Moving around, big circle. One way and then the other. Back to center. Lean forward a little and move around. One way and the other. Back up to your seat. Bring the arms wide. Deep breath in. On the exhale, we're bringing hands to center. Inhale wide. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. One more. Inhale. And exhale. Interlace the fingers, lift the hands, gaze up. And then arms down by your side. Inhale, lift. And lower. Lift. And lower. Once more. Lifting up. And then right arm down by your side. Reach across to the left. Switch sides. Back up. Lift the shoulders, roll back. And forward. Left hand on right knee, right arm behind. Sit up tall, take a twist. Back to center and switch. And back to center. Let's extend the legs out in front. So just sitting tall in your staff pose. So hands are pressed down by your side. Sitting up tall. Make sure you're not leaning forward here. So you want to think about a nice straight line going from the hips all the way up the back. So this is staff pose, and we don't really spend a lot of time in this pose. It's more of a transition between poses. But if you are sitting here, nice straight back, you'll feel it takes a little bit of effort to hold this pose. Okay? If we're leaning forward like this is a real easy pose. But when you sit up, it takes a little bit of effort. Right? So let's just sit here and breathe for a little bit. And then sit back down. We're going to bring the soles of the feet together. Sit up tall. Now, we haven't done a lot before this, so you may find that your hips aren't as open. Maybe you're up here. That's okay. We're just going to go, again, kind of as far as we can and hold. So we're doing a slightly different practice today. This is kind of a yin, but it's really just a slow pose. So yin, we're holding poses for longer, and we focus more on the lower part of the body than the upper part. But yin is challenging because we're doing it without a lot of warm up. So things are a little tighter than they might normally be. And yin takes some focus, right? So when we are normally moving through a practice, we're going, pretty quickly. And we don't, if you get in a pose that you don't like very much, you get to move on. Yin doesn't let us do that. Yin makes us stay and feel. So we think we may focus, right, on the sensations. Notice where things feel tight, where things feel stuck. And then we're building not just focus, but tapas, right? So we talked about tapas. Tapas is that heat that comes from basically staying with something when you want to let it go. So sticking with something when it gets hard, when you feel like you don't want to do it anymore. I think about tapas a lot in bridge pose, right? When you think, I'd like to come down now, and you think, no, I'm going to stay up for 4 more breaths. And we do it. That's tapas, right? We build tapas a lot of ways, right? So when we're doing something because we know it's good for us, even though we might not feel like it, right? When we get ourselves up off a couch and go take a walk, even though we were really comfortable and we just wanted to watch another show, you're building tapas, right? We're making good choices. Come on back up. Let's extend the legs out in front. Staff pose again. And then we're going to bring the legs wide. Sitting up tall, take a deep breath, and then moving forward. So finding whatever your focus point is, maybe it's a thought or a mantra, a little group of words, maybe it's an image. Holding that. And if you're ever holding these poses long, you may find that you can go a little further. Okay? Sometimes the body eases up a little, things loosen the longer we hold. The opposite may also be true. You may find, yeah, I've been down here enough, things are starting to hurt me, then we come back up, right? So we don't have to hold the pose with the same intensity the whole time. We may change a little, one way or the other. Always adjusting for whatever it is we need. So in this silence, in the quiet of the poses, it's really important to keep that focus, right? Thoughts creep in. Start wondering, how much longer? What are we doing? What is this about? Just keep that focus. Don't worry. Don't let those thoughts overwhelm you. And then moving back up, take a breath. And let's bring the feet in. So we're, maybe the width of the mat or so. Right foot comes in by the thigh. Sitting up tall here. And then turning so we're facing the left leg. Inhale. Lift the arms and fold forward. moving back up. Switch sides. So the left foot comes in, close to the thigh. We're facing the right leg, arms overhead, deep breath, fold forward. And walk your hands back up. Both legs out in front. Sitting up tall, take a deep breath in, and then fold forward. And walk the hands up. We're going to bring the hands behind you, fingertips pointing away. And just lean back a little. Squeeze the shoulders together. And then back up to seat. I'm going to come into child's pose. So you could have knees together or knees apart. It's your choice here. Moving your way back up. Tabletop, we're going to swing the right leg around. And then, kind of walk it out a little bit, maybe. We're going to do a lizard, but you could also just do like kind of a mini lizard, depending on how tight things are. So you could just bring the hands down and maybe you stay right here. If you have a little extra flexibility and you want to come down, you can. So this lizard But when we do yin, where we hold it longer, they call it dragon, right? Because it's like a fire breathing lizard. It's like fire in your hip. So the thing to remember with this is to try to keep the toe pointing toward the front of the mat. If the knee comes out to the side, that's fine, but we don't want to twist the foot. We want to keep the foot nice and straight. Come on back up. Let's bring that right foot back. Child's pose again. So doing these kind of yin style poses, working on the lower part of the body, we're trying to loosen up things in the hips. So the hips, there's a lot of connections there, a lot of nerve. Everything is going the spinal column and then the hips. And there's just a lot of intersections, and it's like a super highway down there, right? So energy and things can get stuck, can get hung up in that hip area. Things that are going on with us, things that are going on with people around us, or even just society as a whole, right? We're absorbing this kind of energy and it can stay with us. So hip openers are good. It allows us to release those energy pockets that get stuck. But it also can stir up feelings, right? So we can feel kind of sad or unhappy or just in general, as these feelings are moving through us, we may experience them again. And just don't worry about that. Just let it go. Just keep breathing. The end result is that we feel lighter. We feel less burdened at the end. Releasing energy. Come on back up. Switch. So now we've got that left leg is out, and we can come down onto the hands. Start here. If you want to go further down, you can. Just don't have to. And you can always stay down here for a bit and then move back up if you feel like it's getting too intense. Moving back up. Let's bring the foot back, and we're in child's pose again. moving back up. And then we'll come into a seat on the mat again. This time we're going to lower down onto your back. Take a few breaths. Getting comfortable. And then we're going to bring the right ankle on top of the left knee. Arms to a T or goalpost arms, lowering the left knee down. That right foot is going along for a twist. Back up. Switch. Breath in and then lowering down. And breathe. And then back to center. Ready for bridge. You didn't think we were going to skip bridge, right? Heels back. Close to the body. Hands by your side. We're going to press down, hands and feet, lifting up the hips. And breathe. And then lower down. Maybe you're already lowered down. That's fine. Soles of the feet together. Knees apart. Let's bring the arms up over the head. You could grab opposite elbows if that feels good, or just rest the arms overhead. Bring the knees together. We'll hug them into the chest, rock a little side to side. And then moving into Shavasana, you can extend the legs up and lower, or you could just extend your legs long, however you want to get there. Just resting on the mat. Finding a place that feels comfortable for you. Steady with the breath. Allow the body to just relax. Feel the support of the mat, the support of the floor. The support of the earth beneath you. Notice all the places where the body is resting on the mat. Feel the sensation of energy moving up through the earth, through the mat, into the body. Feel the breath coming in, bringing in that peace and calm. And the exhales, releasing any negative energies or thoughts. Just let them float away with the breath. Keep bringing in that peaceful, calm energy. So when we focus, we choose what is important. And we all have to choose that for ourselves. What do we want our life to be about? What is our focus? So we're training ourselves to be able to slip back into that focus. We aren't trying to eliminate distractions. We can't. That's part of life. We're trying to decide which things are important, which things are not, and learn how to redirect our energy. So we will get distracted. We will go off on side tangents, right? We're humans. Things aren't always going to be perfect, right? But when we know our focus, when we know where we want to go, we can get right back. We don't have to kind of flounder around looking for that path. We already know what the path is. We just have to get back. But it's a lot of responsibility, choice, deciding what it's going to be for you. Um, it's very easy to let other people tell you what is important, what you should care about. Um, but ultimately, the only thing that matters is what that voice inside is telling you. And if you're not sure, look back. Look back to what did you care about when you were a child? What did you think was important then? A lot of times as children, we we know a lot more than we think we do. We know a lot more about ourselves, and we care a lot less about what other people uh, tell us. Right? Go back to that time. See what was your value then. What did you think was the most important thing? Maybe it was candy. I don't know. Probably was, but there were other things too. Um, we want to go back to that place before people told you couldn't do that, or that's dumb, or a waste of time. And again, if you aren't sure about these things, if you feels like a big decision, a big choice, sit with it for a while. Do a little meditation. Um, take your time. You don't have to rush into anything or make any big decisions right away. Try to get to know that voice, um, so that you can hear it when it's telling you. Beginning to move then, fingers and toes, hands and feet. Stretching if you feel like it. And then making your way up to a seat on the mat, hands together, breath in and out. Thank you for taking time this morning for yoga and for sharing it with me. I hope you have a really good Monday. Namaste. Thank you for coming to class. Hi, Judy. It's okay. We we were just getting started, I think, when you came in, so that's fine. Okay, well, I mean, that's it. I don't really have anything else to talk about. I'll be back tomorrow. Oh, I think we're getting I think the rest of the back part of the roof we're gonna get done now. We had to wait there. I don't know. It's a whole big thing. Like the part of the roof is old or older, so we had to go to like historic preservation, or I don't know. It's a whole big thing. But anyway, they're doing the rest of the roof. So it's the back of the house, so I don't think it's going to be loud. But we'll see. If it's super duper loud, maybe we will cancel class or something. I don't know. But we'll see. I don't even know. I'm not even sure what time they're starting. Maybe after class gets started. Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Deb. Yeah, and if you're interested in yin, you can look up. Yin's a great practice to do at home because, again, usually it's very, you don't have to do a lot. You're mainly on the floor and the wall. Like if you have a wall, doing yin stuff against the wall is great too. So you can explore that if you want. Also, yin is a super practice before bed. Like if you are you just want like a nice slow practice, yeah, to kind of open things up before you go to sleep. It's a good one to do. Yeah. All right. Well, have a good day. Enjoy the weather, although I think it's a little warmer, but yeah, it'll be okay. And I'll be back tomorrow.